Hello there, and welcome to another edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. Today on the program, the federal government plans to reopen the former governor's corruption cases. President Buhari speaks on 1985 coup, says General Babangida ousted him to stop Aliyu Gusau's sack for corruption. And later on the program, a PDP chieftain, Adamu Chiroma, says PDP did not lose the 2015 presidential election. So joining me are Babatunde Kolaje Otitoju and Olayinka Oyegbile. So if you're ready, let that hangout start now. Former state governors between 1999 to 2015 who have been fingered in one corruption case or the other by the anti-corruption agencies may start facing charges soon. Media reports say the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, has ordered the chairman of the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, ICPC, a 14-day ultimatum to remit the duplicate case files concerning them. Malami was quoted as saying the federal government will immediately prosecute all ex-governors, that the ICPC had long concluded investigations into the various allegations leveled against them, but had not been tried in court. But will President Buhari make any headway with this effort? Jide, let me start from you. It seems we have so many cases as fight against corruption. EFCC, I can't count the number of cases that right now is in the hand of that particular agency. And now ICPC, now if they want to go retroactively between 1999 to 2015, Jide, do you think we are not biting more than we can chew? From 1999 to 2015, that we have the class of 99 to 2003, the class of 2003 to 2007, from 2007 to 2011, and some of them are not even alive right now. And we are faced with other, big challenges at the same time.
Well, I don't think that this is right to assume that those cases are too many, too numerous for us to pursue. The reality is, it is not even true that those cases have been closed. I know that quite a number of those cases are still on. So when I saw the headline to reopen, I just laughed, because I know that many of those governors still have cases.
Yeah.
They still have cases. Some Ojiu's or Kalu, for example, you can't tell me that his case has been closed.
Yes, I remember.
You can't.
The Supreme Court has ordered that should be started de novo.
Yes, you can't also tell me that Chimaroke Namani's case had been closed. You can't tell me that
Reverend Father Jolly
the former Gombe State Governor, who is now
a senator,
Saraki's budget committee chairman, you can't tell me that his case has been closed, because his case came up recently in court.
Okay.
You can't tell me that Rashidi Adewolu Ladoja's case has been closed.
Class of 2003.
You can't tell me that Benga Daniel's case has been closed, because that case also came up not long ago. So what really is happening is that neither can you tell me that the case of Babame Mangoro,
no, that one is so fresh,
has been closed. There are so many cases involving those governors that they are talking about that are still on. The problem is the judiciary is defective when it comes to handling cases of these big people. Those cases get prolonged needlessly. I remember that even when Farida Waziri was the PFCC chairman, she complained that they have so many cases in court and those cases are not moving. So those cases were not moving.
Some lawyers are frustrating it.
Yes, they've exploited the whimsical nature of our judiciary.
Loopholes.
That is what those lawyers exploit. And of course, there are some judges too who do not even deserve to be judges. Because anybody who should be a judge, anybody qualified to be a judge, in my view, should be somebody of impeccable character. Because they are like representatives of God on earth.
Yeah, above board.
Yes, because look, life and death is actually in your hands as a judge, for example. So you have to be above board. Your decisions should not cause people to ask all kinds of questions. But that's not the situation in Nigeria. You have so many of those cases being delayed needlessly. That's why we have not actually reached the point of even conviction. I can also tell you that the case of the man who married a young woman from Egypt, Sani Ahmed. Sani Ahmed, the former governor of Zamfara State, the one that they like to call Yerima. His case is still on. As we speak, his case came up recently.
Is the senator?
Yes. So there are a lot of them in the Senate there. You know, the corruption cases against them are legion. So the reality is, I really don't know what the Attorney General wants. If he wants my advice, I will give him. The advice that I have is to ensure that those cases move on quickly. Yes, under this dispensation, we want to defeat corruption. Corruption is one fire that we must put out in Nigeria, otherwise it will consume the rest of us. So now he has to find a way to bring stakeholders together and ensure that these cases move on smoothly. Why did people go to court in the case of Judicial Okalu? Because Abians felt that this guy deserved to get justice, the justice that he deserves. Because according to the EFCC, he took money straight from the account of Abia State government and deposited in their account of SLOC. And what do they even do with the money? The other day I went to Gambia, SLOC Airlines. Their airplanes were already disused and rotting away at the Gambian airport. If you go, you still find SLOC airplanes. So you take public funds, do all kinds of things with public funds. At the end of the day, what do you gain? They behave like they have 2 lifetimes, and every man has just 1 lifetime. You look at the kind of the money that they steal, and you just pity them. They deserve to be pitied. They need help. So what Malami can do for us is to ensure that these cases move on quickly. Less than 48 hours after the class of 2007, left office.
Yes.
They brought all kinds of cases against them. Not one of them has been jailed. But the EFCC continues to secure convictions against Yahoo boys and some bank thieves. Not even big bank thieves, those who steal little money here and there. We need to see these fellows, these former governors, put behind bars.
Not convictions like Gabriel Egbenedion. Not convictions like
that's a slap on the wrist.
No. The reality, Alamisa was stealing money even during the weekends. Was moving money from government house straight to GTB account during weekends. He had no conscience. He had
no 24/7
absolutely. He last scruples. He was stealing money blindly, and he wasn't the only one. Saminu Turaki moved.
I remember.
Saminu Turaki set a record in Nigeria by cashing more than 2 billion across the counter.
2 billion
across the counter,
not transfer.
Across the counter. But we have not succeeded in jailing him. How long will it take to jail that man? How long will it take to jail Saminu Turaki?
The last time I saw him with a cheetah.
And you keep seeing them coming up and saying that they are going to, if not because Sule Lamido needed to destroy him, maybe Saminu Turaki would have been in the Senate right now.
Yeah.
So Sule Lamido made sure that he didn't get to the Senate. Lamido boasted that, look, the seat that you were occupying was what made you so strong. Now I'm occupying that seat now. You know? So that is the governor in northern Nigeria can be really, really strong, very powerful. But I want to see Saminu Turaki and other governors of his generation put behind bars. And I hope that Malami will be able to ensure that happens.
But these people seem to have done a lot of damages, because if those money that, since 1999 to 2005, I just imagine, can we ever be in a world, that kind of perfect world, if we've had funds well appropriated and had gone into all the sectors since 1999 to 2015, and nothing was stolen from this, money? What kind of Nigeria do you think we'll have now?
Well, Nigeria will have moved beyond what Singapore is today, by my own reckoning, if all those monies that were budgeted for whatever are deployed in the appropriate way. But be that as it may, the idea of resuscitating the cases, well, they were not closed before.
They are not closed.
The idea of bringing them out again, I think, is very good, but we have to be careful. Be careful in the sense that this should not be the only agenda that the present government is going to pursue. I agree that it is not the president that goes to the court or carry all these cases on, but you see, we've had so many cases now that if all the cases are going to go on in the courts, that means the courts will not have any other case to deal with, especially since we don't have a special court for trying corruption. So how do we ensure that this is done? I mean, it is mind-boggling that people will steal so much of a commonwealth and go and deposit it or just lavish it anyhow.
Somebody collecting 2 billion.
2 billion across the counter. For what? For what? What do you want to do with it? In how many years or in how many days or how many centuries does he want to spend such humongous amount of money? For what? What are the projects? I remember very clearly during his tenure, Jigawa was banded as the IT
they were
whatever of
and
Nigeria.
There were a lot of beggars on the streets. People could not.
No, but what has happened to that IT today? What has happened to it?
You were doing IT and people were battling to feed.
The IT he was even doing was in the mouth. It was not. I mean, states, states or countries in the world where you travel to and Wi-Fi is free, almost free
on the streets.
But was it applicable? Was it applicable in Jigawa? No, it wasn't. So where was the money? What was the money spent on? My own advice also to the Attorney General is that these cases must be pursued to the logical conclusion, to the end. It must not be
justice delayed.
You remember that, was it in 2011 or 20 when? It was here in this Lagos that Nuhu Ribadu, as the chairman of EFCC,
yes,
at a public forum. I still remember that gesture. He carried a file like this that, look, there are over 30 corrupt governors on this list, and we are going to prosecute them immediately they step out of office. What has happened?
I'm sure he has
even
testimony
the case of Ibori was born good.
Great Onanefe.
It was born good. What Ibori is serving jail time for now is not for the offenses he committed as a governor in Nigeria. They are for things he did before. So why? Why should this be? And also we need to blame ourselves. Blame ourselves in the sense that we worship people who have money. People who have money are the people we reckon with. These are the people that we see on the road with their flashy cars, Baba, Alaye Baba, and the rest of it. Why should that be?
Jide, why do we have this kind of system? A system that we allow an individual to cash 2 billion naira over the counter. A system that we allow somebody to, I'm not sure that the American president can say, oh, I need $100 million right now, and I need to get it.
Even talk of $100,000, not $1 million.
I don't know the kind of system we're running. Does it have to do with that system?
So, see,
these people are powerful.
When governors, bank MDs are compromised, they can do anything for you. I talked about the MD of one of Nigeria's biggest banks, who was recently asked to go. Why? Because he gave out so much money to politicians. He was asked to go. I don't want to mention his name here, but I'm sure Nigerians know which bank MD was asked to go, which big bank MD was asked to go recently.
The chairman too.
He gave out so much money to politicians. The first banker to be put on trial by the EFCC was the former Bank of the North MD, Muhammad Bulama. Muhammad Bulama was the first MD of Bank of the North to emerge from within the bank. It was the former staff of the bank promoted to that position. But you know, Bank of the North was owned by the 19 northern states. So those governors who pile pressure on him, give me so amount of money, give me so amount of money, loans that were not secured. You know, it's just like, it's similar to insider abuse. Loans that were not secured. You couldn't even ask those governors questions because you felt, look, your position could be threatened if they reported you. You understand? So they pile pressure on him, and Bulama, a fantastic banker, they succeeded in winning his career. And they brought him here to Lagos to be tried. He set that record. The first banker to be put on trial by the EFCC. Bulama would not have done that if not for the pressure on him from some of these
stakeholders.
These governors.
As we call them.
Yes, these governors.
The stakeholders in the
bank. You see, Nigerian banks, you know, what Fayose said that Zenith or which bank gave him money. It's not a lie. They've not been able to deny it.
Let's just avoid.
No.
In terms of the organization,
is it not already in the public domain? Is it not already? We can. There are certain things that I didn't mention the other MD because I know that many Nigerians don't know. But what is already apparent as daylight, what am I hiding there? If I don't mention the name of the man, people are aware already. But I'm saying that Nigerian banks, they invest in governors who before they come to power. If they sense that this governor is likely to win the election,
a kind of investment?
Yes, it's an investment because those governors will now put public sector funds in their banks.
Yeah.
That's why you see a governor will come into office and say, oh yeah, go and start
open an account with the new bank.
It's happening in Kogi as we speak now. Our people are being made to suffer because the supplementary governor of the state has decided that they should go and start banking with a new bank. So you see hundreds of people in front of the bank every day. So the banks are corrupt, bank MDs are corrupt, they are complicit. There is no looting that can happen in Nigeria without the connivance of a bank MD. It can't happen. You can't move such funds without the banks, supporting you. That's why we are even seeing these days that some governors, the people used to keep money for them, they are promoting those people and making them,
I have my first caller on the line. I have Johnson. Johnson is calling us from Abuja. Thank you for joining us, Johnson.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Johnson.
Yeah, I want to appreciate you, gentlemen. You are making every home to be very fulfilled with your contribution and your comments about events in this great nation.
Thank you.
But my good friend and brother there, Babajide, that is looking like a super heavyweight boxer. When I meet him in the street, I'll blow him. Because he does the down of
Are you sure you can blow him?
Thank you,
What
Johnson.
is happening? I want to ask, what is happening with the committee of Professor Eso Sagi that
Okay.
they are putting in place mechanism for this prosecution to go ahead? What is happening? That's the first question I want to ask.
Okay,
And what
Johnson.
is the Minister of Interior doing with our prisons? Because by the time you start jailing these people, where are we going to put them?
Johnson.
Thank you, Johnson. Thank you for your contribution. I think the last time I checked, Professor Itsesage, I think they are working on the ground.
Yeah,
I think they've been doing so many things.
They had a seminar recently.
Yes, I've been reading, and I'm sure they are working out something. But as recommended by Jide, I think my producer will try to put a call through Professor Itsesage, maybe not today, maybe
tomorrow.
Subsequently we'll be able to talk to
So that he can
Professor
at least
Itsesage,
clear the air
clear the air and
himself.
tell us what they've been doing and how they're supporting Mr. President on his the fight against corruption. Yinka, moving forward now, looking at these people now, when you now see the cases, the Judy has spoken about the judicial system, and one other culprit in all this is, if I've stolen 1 billion naira, I can afford to hire a lawyer of 200 million naira, and that lawyer will tell me that, don't worry, I am going to make sure I frustrate the trial. If you check out the corruption cases we've been having, even the politically exposed people lately, we've seen that if it's not because of the criminal justice acts that was that was activated for Bukola Saraki's case, they argued, they went to Supreme Court level. It was the Supreme Court that said, yes, that look, you can't stall this trial. Go and face your trial. But before, the way it is, if the lawyer just raised an objection, that objection will stall the trial, will be on date for months, will now go to the Court of Appeal, will now go to Supreme Court, and the trial will be stalled. Before you know it, 10, 15 years, the trial is still there. Maybe this is what is happening to class of 1999.
Yeah, I think the justice system has to be reformed. As we spoke the other time, the Attorney General will need to fasten this up and hasten it up to be able to, so that we are going to have a system that will not make the justice system slow. And that is not the only problem. The judiciary, yes, we are always blaming the judiciary. But what about the prosecution? Most of the prosecuting lawyers are very shabby. They don't do clinical work in their prosecution.
Wow.
And the thing is
you
that...
start hearing things like 150 count charge.
Exactly. I mean, now,
Meanwhile,
if you don't tighten the prosecution, there is a little the judge can do. I mean, if a judge, even in his own heart of hearts, is convinced that the accused is guilty, but if the prosecution bungles the prosecution, what do you want him to do?
The charges cannot hold.
I mean, do you want the judge to send the accused to jail? No. He must work with the evidences that have been produced. So, we also need to take our lawyers, the police, or all those involved in all these cases through some courses and some updates in how to prosecute such cases. I mean, we have a situation where the forensic laboratory of the police is not working. So, if they need forensic evidence, we have to
go abroad.
Go abroad. We have to call people here and all that. This is not supposed to be. I mean, so all these things...
You can't match fingerprints.
Exactly. There is a case of recent that it has been proved that the fingerprints are not the same. But how do you proceed with that? That's where the problem lies. Now, they say, okay, go and get this man's fingerprint, go and get that one.
How do you do it?
How do you go? So, prosecution will also need to be tightened. We should not blame. The judges have their own fault. They are, so, of course, we know that some of them have been bribed either directly or indirectly. But also, the prosecution will also have to up the ante.
All right. Okay, Jide, you want to contribute something?
Yes, I want to agree with him totally. I've always said that the EFCC doesn't do well when it comes to these big cases. And you see, I don't believe in media trial. This idea of EFCC
always putting
stuff in the newspapers,
yes,
and then some of the stuff that they put in the newspapers, when vigorously investigated, you find that it's not true. Look at the case of they went to Akute, in my area, to lock up two filling stations.
Yeah,
you know, and claim that those filling stations belong to Fayose. And people came out to say, no, Fayose does not own these filling stations. Now, they've reopened those filling stations. You know? And you see, you can't continue like this. The man, Fayose issued a challenge last weekend. He said, what I have in the account that you froze is 384 million. Say, publish what you found in the account. The EFCC has not responded.
Yeah.
The talk out there is that
4.8 billion.
Yeah, if it's 4.8, 2.1, and Nigerians who like to believe rumors, they will be going around with that. So I expect them to this challenge. Since the guy has thrown up this challenge, I expect them to respond.
Since they can't go to court,
publish what you
can't
found.
expect anything
So
less.
it's still immune. You
No,
can
publish what you found there.
If
This
the
is era of full
Inspector General of
disclosure.
Police can come out to say that his predecessor disappeared with 24 cars and
without
investigation.
investigation.
we now discover that
So how do
So cases are not won on the pages of newspapers.
no.
You know, you
When
must
we
do
return-
diligent investigation and prosecution.
Okay, let me quickly take Babajide from Katsina State.
Oh, you have a namesake here.
Oh, Kaduna. Hello, Jide.
No, hello, it's Johnson, not Jide, Johnson. From
Johnson.
Kaduna.
Okay. Johnson. Thank you for calling us.
Yeah, please. I think the AGF should be strongly advised. You see, we cannot ask the regular courts to continue like this. It will be good for us to have special courts to try these ex-governors. If not, these judges will just overwork themselves. And as a result, you cannot stop misappropriation of justice. We should have special criminal cases, courts to handle these cases. Why normal, the regular court?
Thank you, Johnson.
Thanks,
When we
Michael.
return,
God bless you.
President Buhari flashed back to 1985 coup. He says IBB removed him to preempt the sacking of General Gusau over corruption. How did it play out, and what is the true story? We'll be right back after this time out. Please don't go away. Still journalist Hangout. Welcome back. President Muhammadu Buhari is a man of history. He's popular for his zero tolerance on corruption. But when he attempted to fight the scourge in 1983 as the head of state, he was kicked out by his colleagues in the 1985 coup. 31 years after, President Buhari recalled the intrigues that played out then. He said then, the head of military intelligence, General Aliyu Gusau, was one of the reasons he was ousted. He said Gusau was corrupt and he recommended a sack from the military leadership, but rather than kicking Gusau out, he was toppled. He accused Aliyu Gusau as Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida and other officers of not supporting his anti-corruption campaign. Today, the same intrigues are playing out. With the mind-blowing corruption in the legislature and the judiciary, it is not clear if President Buhari succeed this time. Will history repeat itself? Jide, I want you to give us a backgrounder to this story. A lot of Nigerians that are not up to 40 years, a lot of our viewers, 25, 30, young Nigerians. as of that time that the president says that on what happened at that time, we know Ali Goso was one of these members of the Supreme Military. Was it AFRC that time or Supreme Military Council?
AFRC.
Armed Forces Ruling Council.
It was Abacha that renamed it Provincial Ruling Council.
So just give us a picture, and for the benefit of our viewers, this is 31 years ago.
Yeah, this is not actually new, because in 1993, the news interviewed President Buhari, and the title of that cover story was "Why I Was Toppled." He said everything that he's saying today now. He said everything back then, that they wanted to stop the investigation and maybe eventual sack of Ali Guso. You know, and Ali Guso was a very senior officer at that time, and very, very loyal to IBB. So IBB, he said IBB moved to carry out that coup to protect or to save his friend. But the bigger issue at that time was that President Buhari, apart from his friend and the number 2 man at that time, Tunde Idiagbon, he didn't really have sufficient support of the powerful people in the army.
So that time?
Yes. Many of them did not buy into his idea and his leadership style. And IBB, it is on record that IBB is one Nigerian general who wanted to be head of state and eventually became head of state. IBB had been cultivating a lot of the young officers like Colonel Abdulmuni Aminu, Dangiwa Umar, Lawan Gwandabe, and all of them. He had been cultivating them since they were cadets in the NDA. You know, it was their instructor, Oluni and the rest of them. He was their instructor, you know, because he was from the Armored Corps. And he carefully nurtured those officers from the Armored Corps.
Had loyalists.
Because he knew one day they would be useful to him. I once asked IBB that, how come you are able to remember people's names even 20 years after you saw them last? He said that was how they were trained in Sandust. That you must build, that you must build personal relationships with soldiers in your platoon, such that you can also, that even the first names of their wives, you must be able to memorize the first names of their wives, that it allows for loyalty. That was why Colonel Abubakar Dangiwa Umar was interviewed sometime in around 1986, and he said some of us can go into the lion's den.
Blindfolded into war.
Yes. So we'll go to war blindfolded on behalf of IBB. IBB had that core of loyalists that Buhari didn't have. Remember, they were, because they saw Buhari as somebody respected, incorruptible, and they brought him to head the coup. I mean, to be president, to be head of state. But in terms of human relations, cultivating officers, IBB was a lot better. By the time IBB moved against him, IBB had systematically been undermining him and trying to make him unpopular without Babangida knowing. I mean, without IBB knowing, Buhari knowing. Remember, Awolowo's house, his library was overturned. They violated Awolowo's privacy. But when we asked Buhari, he said he never told anybody to go and do that. So they were taking these actions as a way of preparing for the coup. So that when that coup comes, where you naturally will expect people to say, no, we don't want, there will be silence. So they were already planning to replace him. The matter of Aliu Gusau was just the last straw. It was just the last straw. There were many people already who were already part of the whole arrangement.
Yeah.
The Shagayas of this world, all
Yeah.
of them, even Dogoyaro, what's his name? The one in the Senate now, David Mark.
David Mark.
All of those young officers at that time, they could die for IBB. So it was just a matter of time. And then, of course, Abacha. It was just a matter of time. Many of the things that they would have loved to do, you know that Buhari would not allow them. I read an interview recently that this man granted, Tanko Yakase.
Yeah.
He said Buhari ran, in 1983, that Buhari ran the government like a one-man show.
One-man show.
And that he alienated himself from other generals. So
I know.
that is really the crux of the matter. So his leadership style allowed IBB to build a core of loyalists. And by the time IBB moved in,
it was too late.
It was too late. He himself admitted it. And it was one of the reasons why it was extremely difficult, or it has been extremely difficult for Buhari to forgive IBB.
Now, I know General is a fan of this program. He watches the program, and I'm still telling you, you are owing us that book. We need to get this in a book, and you don't just have to just leave without giving us this book. We need to get this in right perspective.
The truth of the matter is that almost all of them that have held office at one time or the other, we believe they hold us their memoirs. But many of them don't write. The reason, and the few who write,
they don't tell
glorify themselves.
Yes,
they never
like
mentioned anything they did wrong or anything they felt they should have done that was done wrong.
What's the name of that book, sir?
My watch.
My command.
My command.
My command was his
last
first
one.
book.
Yeah, this
watch.
is the recent
My
one.
watch.
My watch. Watching the
Well,
crack him out with watching the Watcher.
I once told a friend that a friend once asked me that I know you like reading such books. Why haven't you read it? I said, well, I will have to be paid to read it because I know I'm reading something that is not true.
It's absolute falsehood.
It's absolute falsehood.
For an Obasanjo not to admit that
Now,
he wanted third term.
Yes.
For him not to admit that he lobbied people in the Southwest
Even he lobbied the
him.
former American president. One time here, I quoted that portion where Condoleezza Rice said...
They can write a million books. Who cares?
Now, to the issue of whether how the government was toppled, recently, the former president of Ghana, Jerry Rawlings, gave an interview to a newspaper where Rawlings said that the late General Sani Abacha gave the same General Gusau 5 million to give him, and that he only delivered 2 million to him. That 3 million up to this moment
He's hanging.
is hanging somewhere. But because he knew, Abacha confirmed to him that it was 5 million that he gave to him. So now you see that people always have one or two reasons to turn down a government. What we are saying now is that I know what President Buhari has done is to give us a figment of some of the reasons that have been adduced for his ouster. You know that was not the only one. There are the street one about Dele Giwa having some investigation and things like that and all that. So there are so many reasons, so many stories behind this. The unfortunate thing is that our leaders or former leaders don't write. They need to let us know some of these things.
He came and went to the grave.
He went to the grave without writing.
Us
Gowon is towing the
this
same path. General Gowon has not written anything about the Civil War. They might be saying, no, we don't want to
but for the foresight to even write about our own Civil War.
Exactly. So,
using his closeness to Ojukwu.
The matter is that some of these people, is either they are so ashamed of what they have done, therefore they cannot come out, they don't want to tell lies, maybe, and they just feel that, well, rather than write what I know is untrue, I better not write at all. But now, why is this revelation coming at this time? That's the question I think we should also be asking.
Because how 31 years down the line,
Yes.
it shows something. Jide told me some time ago that, look, the Mr. President, the kind of person he is,
Yes.
he doesn't forget things or he doesn't let go. I'm not sure, maybe wholeheartedly, Jide, this man would have forgiven Ibrahim Babangida.
No, he has not forgiven him.
No,
at
you can't.
all.
You can't.
He has not forgiven him at all.
Even I saw a clip when there was a Council of State meeting recently, and we saw General Babangida, and that was the first time I know that they were on first. He said Ibro, and they shook, and I have that visual. And
Even if they hug,
Even
even if they
hug,
kiss each other, even if they kiss each other, I know that he has not forgiven. Because I've told you before, or I've even said it here on this program, how Northern leaders, how IBB appealed to Northern leaders to help him broker peace. At that time, Babangida was Buhari was not even in government
at all.
He was out of power, but was quiet in his house in Kaduna. He was just there. He didn't utter a word. The interview that I granted the news was the only interview granted for years.
For years, yeah.
So IBB didn't know his mind, and IBB was desperate to make peace. Both of them were already out of office.
Nothing to lose.
But these Northern leaders came, and Buhari said, no, this is an ambush. They didn't tell me they were coming. They didn't tell me they were coming. So the reality is there is really no, and some people are like that. But remember Umaru Diko too. Some of the things that the president accuses Babangida of, for which he finds it difficult to forgive Babangida, Umaru Diko never forgave Buhari until he died. In fact, at one event in Kaduna, he wanted to shake hands with him. And Umaru Diko refused because Umaru Diko's dad died. He was unable to pay the last respect to his dad. Which was what also happened when IBB put Buhari under house arrest. He also couldn't pay the last respect to his parents. And then, of course, remember the matter of his wife.
Yes.
That when they gave a gift of a 504 station wagon to IBB's wife, I mean to Buhari's wife, and Buhari came out of detention to say, what is the meaning of this? I was in detention and this happened. That first wife of his is dead now. But Buhari still blames that government for the breakup of his marriage. So these are things that are difficult. Even if he doesn't say it, Buhari will not come out to tell you this, you know. But some of us were, as young journalists, we were going to his house. We were going to his house when many Nigerians were scared to visit Buhari. So at least we have that background information that this is what transpired. But I know that in his heart of heart, he's so straight. He's so how do I describe him? He's so stubbornly focused. Stubbornly focused and so straight that once he believes in something, he pursues it. It's extremely difficult for you to change him. So maybe that also has a way, also influences is the way he treats people who offend him.
I guess what he does.
Okay, let me take Andrew. Andrew is calling us from Niger State. Thank you, Andrew.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Andrew.
Yeah, good evening, Ayo. Good evening, Mr. Jide.
Good evening, Andrew.
And the other man.
Olayinka.
Yeah, Jide, I really enjoy you. I'm calling for Niger State, Kanjida.
Thanks.
I really enjoy you always.
Thanks.
I'm around.
Thanks.
And I enjoy your program, especially you, Jide, and all the other your colleagues are in present.
Thanks. We appreciate you too.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for your contribution.
You are talking about.
Moving on, the fall of the People's Democratic Party in 2015 general election was more disgraceful than killing of the biblical Goliaths. Between that period and now, not many PDP chieftains have come to terms with reality. Some of them could still not shake off the shame of being defeated by an opposition party that was barely 3 years old. One of them is Alhaji Adamu Chiroma. Yesterday, the PDP chieftain said that they did not lose the 2015 election and the ruling APC did not win either. So who won the 2015 general election?
The Nigerian people won. Perhaps.
Is Chiroma, I think it should be in the 70s now?
Oh, 80s.
80s. Oh, former CBN governor.
Former editor of New Nigeria.
Is the first journalist to become CBN governor.
Yeah. I'm surprised.
I think he read history.
Yeah, he read history.
He read history. Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised that Alhaji Chiroma is saying this. But you can also understand it's the typical Nigerian thing, continue to live in denial. So who won? If the PDP didn't lose and APC didn't win, maybe the Nigerian people that won.
Oh, God win.
Speaking metaphorically.
But you see, by and large, I think what has happened is that the PDP is just coming to terms with what has happened, that the election they have lost, and even what is happening in the party today shows that they are still living in that, I don't know what psychologists call it now, the syndrome of losing.
Defeat syndrome.
Exactly. That is what is wrong with them now. They are still unable to gather themselves together to say that, look, the elections are over. What they should be doing now is what the APC had done. By now, there are several and very, very good ground for them to couple themselves up together and give the APC a good fight
for their money.
But the way they are going, they don't seem to be coordinated because everything now seems to be going the way Nigerians are getting a bit, things are getting tough and frustrated.
They're not happy. This wasn't what they bargained for.
An opposition party that will wake up rather than talk about PDP not losing the election. They should
2015.
think about what have we done wrong.
Why did we lose?
Exactly. How can we focus again and be like the ram that when it moves back, it goes to gather steam. But they don't seem to be having that.
You know, there's one thing about 2015, and one thing I've noticed about that election is that 2015 succeeded in polarizing us more, tearing us apart, and we've not done anything to be mending what happened. Have you noticed that there's nothing President Muhammadu Buhari does right, as in whatever he's going to do, it can an average man from the southeast will not, it will not be moved. Definitely, and a majority from the south will not be moved. And analyzing it, I looked at it and said, that's the acrimony before 2015 election. And so and it will even get worse, and we should not carry it to 2019.
Well, you see, the part of the blame for that I will lay at the door of the president, because when he was saying that some states that didn't give him more than
95%,
yes, that they shouldn't expect that they will get the same treatment, this and that. You don't say that as a leader. You don't say that as a leader to your people. You are the president of all.
Our Bofemi Additional tried severally to
help no way you
pushing the effect of that.
You can't put a spin on that statement. No, it is clear to people. Now, that is why some people will feel that he doesn't like us. Yeah. And because he doesn't like us, we don't owe him an obligation to like him. So there are statements, I've said it. Remember also when he said that politicians were noisemakers, ministers were just noisemakers and all that. He says some things that he ought not to say. He makes mistakes.
Because
he's not a
those
politician.
civil servants actually
A trained politician will never speak like that. You won't hear an article talk like that because he's looking at their votes.
Yeah.
He's already targeting their votes. You know, so he speaks straight from his heart, and there is so much danger in that. There's so much danger in speaking straight from your heart. No filtration, nothing. You just say it the way it comes from your heart. It's dangerous because people will hold it against you. So, what he needs to do, if I were the president, you see that Niger Bridge project that
the second Niger Bridge.
Yes, that Niger Bridge project that Jonathan started late. I would not have stopped it for any reason.
Not for a second.
I would not have stopped for any reason. I would have continued.
Because it's so strategic.
Yes, I would have shown to them that look, this Jonathan that you people continue to idolize him. I can do better than for you people.
But perhaps he did not do anything tangible for you guys.
I can do better than he has done for you people. What has he really done for you people? I will show you that I'm a better leader by allowing projects to go to the east, execute those projects, let them see so much work being done. And in your comments, you have to show them that you appreciate them as Nigerians.
And in your appointments.
And your appointments too. In your appointments too, you have to show that you feel that they are important. When you do this, honestly, in no time, nobody will be talking about good Lord Jonathan. But some of the people around the president,
they don't tell him
the truth. They will never have given the right advice. I don't even think some of them deserve to keep their jobs. Because you see the president do some missteps and you wonder, does he really have advisors? So that is the thing. It is easy to redirect the thinking of these people. Then the way to do it is to show them that, look, yes, you didn't vote for me. You didn't vote for me. But I don't hold it against you.
I'm now the president of all.
The president of all. That is the thing. In no time, people will change.
Yes.
They are human beings. They will change.
To be done. For instance, what should have been done?
And then, of course, the Chiroma thing.
Yeah.
What Chiroma was trying to say was, look, PDP lost the election. PDP was not defeated. Because if not for the crisis in the PDP, they would not have lost that election. You know how many governors? No, beyond even those 5 governors, you know those who defected.
Yeah.
And those who defected, more than 11 of them defected to the PDP.
Those
after APC.
Those who lost their primaries.
After the December 5 primaries, they went to APC. And they won elections in those states. People like the Benue man, people like the Kebbi man, Bagudu,
Jigawa, I think.
You know, Jigawa, you know, so people, they defected and then went to win in the APC. So the reality is, if not for their crisis, they will have won the election. That's the point that he's trying to make, that they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. That's exactly what I was trying to say.
The question of, okay, where does the super tanker now comes in? Because I thought that was a singular a singular factor that made the difference.
No single factor could have made the difference. It was very popular. In the north, it's always been popular.
It's always been popular.
In the north, it's always been popular. But the crisis ensured that the votes that he got even became wider. If not because of the crisis, for example, APC would not have won Plateau State.
Oh, definitely.
The governor was selfish. He brought his cousin.
Yes,
If not because of the crisis, the governor was selfish. He brought his cousin. They rejected him. If not because of the crisis, your tongue would not have become the governor.
Yes,
you know. So Buhari would still have retained.
This one did not pay salaries, and he was owing workers, and workers had to deal with him.
Now, so then the governors that left, if they had remained, they would have delivered their states.
They would have.
Or even if they didn't deliver, they would have limited the capacity of the APC to garner so much. Because Buhari will always defeat Esule Lamido in Jigawa, for example. He will always defeat anybody from the far north. But he was able to come to the middle belt and then do well in the southwest. So it's not one.
Your last thing, Yinka.
One factor.
Yeah, the advice I would say is that the president, if somebody is already your friend, you need very little to continue to hold his friendship. It is those who are your enemies or who you think don't like you that you should go after.
So I think by now we should stop talking about what happened 31 years ago and focus on delivering the dividends of democracy. There's so much hunger in Nigeria. Our people want real change, the change that they voted for.
On that note, Olayinka Igbile, thank you so much for being part of this interesting edition of Journalist Hangout. And Jide, thank you for sharing so much with us. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. And that's it on Journalist Hangout today. Join us tomorrow for another exciting episode. Watch the repeat broadcast tonight at 11. And you can also watch Journalist Hangout on YouTube. That is youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Osuba. Bye for now and God bless.